Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the annals of time, uncovering the hidden treasures of our collective past. Today, we find ourselves in the midst of a pivotal moment in modern history as we delve into the fascinating tale of the Prague Spring. This remarkable episode, which unfolded in the late 1960s, was a beacon of hope for the people of Czechoslovakia, and its impact would reverberate throughout the world. As we set the stage for this extraordinary event, let us transport ourselves to the charming city of Prague, with its picturesque Charles Bridge, majestic St. Vitus Cathedral, and winding Vltava River. It was here, in the heart of Eastern Europe, that a revolution of ideas and ideals would soon take hold. The year was 1967, and the Czechoslovak Writers' Union had just held its infamous Fourth Congress, where writers and intellectuals openly criticized the communist regime and called for greater freedom and reform. This courageous stand was a clarion call for change, and it marked a turning point in the country's history. In this tumultuous period, key figures emerged to shape the course of events. Ludvík Bakulik, a prominent journalist and writer, would play a crucial role in shaping the reform movement. His influential essay, 2,000 Words, published in June 1968, was a call to action for the Czechoslovak people, urging them to demand greater freedom and democracy. Other notable figures, such as Alexander Dubček, the newly elected first secretary of the Communist Party, and František Křígl, a leading figure in the party's reform wing, would also leave their mark on this pivotal moment in history. The international situation also played a significant role in shaping the events that unfolded. The Soviet Union, under the leadership of Leonid Brezhnev, was facing its own internal struggles, and the Czechoslovak communist regime was increasingly seen as a potential liability. The Warsaw Pact invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1956 had left deep scars, and the country's relations with its Soviet neighbor were strained. As tensions simmered beneath the surface, the stage was set for a dramatic confrontation between the forces of reform and those of repression. As we explore this pivotal moment in modern history, we see that the Prague Spring was not just a political movement, but also a cultural and social phenomenon. It was a time of great hope and expectation, when the boundaries between politics, art, and culture began to blur. The underground music scene was thriving, with bands like the Plastic People of the Universe pushing the boundaries of creative expression. Writers and intellectuals, such as Václav Havel and Milan Kundera, were producing works that would soon become iconic symbols of the era. The earliest history of the Prague Spring is also marked by a sense of possibility, as Czechs and Slovaks from all walks of life came together to imagine a brighter future. In the streets of Prague, students, workers, and intellectuals mingled, sharing ideas and dreams of a more democratic and just society. It was an era marked by a sense of spontaneity, as people from all over the country flocked to the capital to join in the debates, protests, and cultural events that were sweeping the nation. And so, dear listeners, having set the stage for this remarkable episode in modern history, we now find ourselves poised on the threshold of a most exciting and tumultuous period. Join me as we embark on this thrilling journey and discover the triumphs and tribulations of a people who dared to dream of a better tomorrow. Welcome, dear listeners, to the next chapter in our journey through the fascinating tale of the Prague Spring. As we delve into the heart of this remarkable episode, we find ourselves in the midst of a most exciting and tumultuous period, the 6 months between January and August 1968. It was a time when the fate of Czechoslovakia, and indeed the world, hung in the balance. In this pivotal moment, the reform movement, led by Alexander Dubček, gained momentum, and the country witnessed an unprecedented era of freedom and creativity. The streets of Prague were filled with the sounds of lively debates, protests, and cultural events as people from all walks of life came together to imagine a brighter future. The underground music scene continued to thrive, with bands like the Plastic People of the Universe pushing the boundaries of creative expression. One of the most significant events during this period was the publication of Ludvík Vakulik's influential essay, 2,000 words in June 1968. This powerful call to action urged the Czechoslovak people to demand greater freedom and democracy, and it marked a turning point in the country's history. The essay sparked a wave of discussion and debate, as people from all over the country shared their thoughts and ideas on how to create a more just and democratic society. As the reform movement gained momentum, the Soviet Union watched with growing unease. Leonid Brezhnev, the Soviet leader, saw the Czechoslovak communist regime as a potential liability, and he began to take steps to rein in the reformers. The Warsaw Pact invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1956 had left deep scars, and the country's relations with its Soviet neighbor were strained. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, and the stage was set for a dramatic confrontation between the forces of reform and those of repression. In this atmosphere of hope and uncertainty, the Czechoslovak people came together to create something truly remarkable. The country witnessed an explosion of creative expression, as writers, artists, and musicians produced works that would soon become iconic symbols of the era. Václav Havel, Milan Kundera, and other notable figures were at the forefront of this cultural revolution, producing works that would inspire and challenge people around the world. As we explore this pivotal moment in modern history, we see that the Prague Spring was not just a political movement, but also a social and cultural phenomenon. It was a time when the boundaries between politics, art, and culture began to blur, and people from all walks of life came together to imagine a better future. The sense of spontaneity and possibility that characterized this era is a testament to the power of human creativity and the desire for freedom and democracy. The fate of Czechoslovakia, and indeed the world, hangs in the balance. Join me as we embark on the final chapter of our journey through the Prague Spring and discover the triumphs and tribulations of a people who dare to dream of a better tomorrow. Welcome back to our journey through the fascinating tale of the Prague Spring. As we explore the decline and aftermath of this remarkable episode, we find ourselves in the midst of a dramatic and complex period. On August 20, 1968, the Soviet Union, along with its Warsaw Pact allies, invaded Czechoslovakia, marking the beginning of the end of the reform movement. The invasion was met with widespread resistance from the Czechoslovak people, who took to the streets to protest against the occupation. Despite being vastly outnumbered and outgunned, the protesters showed remarkable bravery and resilience in the face of overwhelming force. The image of a lone protester standing in front of a Soviet tank has become an enduring symbol of the Czechoslovak people's struggle for freedom and democracy. In the aftermath of the invasion, Alexander Dubček was forced to resign as first secretary of the Communist Party, and a new government, loyal to the Soviet Union, was installed. The reform movement was crushed, and many of its leaders were arrested, imprisoned, or forced into exile. The country was plunged into a period of normalization, characterized by strict censorship, repression, and a return to authoritarian rule. The impact of the invasion was felt far beyond Czechoslovakia's borders. The event marked a significant turning point in the Cold War, as it highlighted the Soviet Union's willingness to use military force to maintain its control over Eastern Europe. The invasion also had a profound effect on the global communist movement, as many left-wing intellectuals and activists began to question the Soviet Union's commitment to socialist ideals. In the years that followed, Czechoslovakia became a shadow of its former self, with a stifled culture, a stagnant economy, and a population living in fear of the secret police. However, despite the repression, the spirit of the Prague Spring lived on, inspiring future generations of dissidents and activists to continue the struggle for freedom and democracy. One of the most notable examples of this is the Charter 77 movement, which emerged in the late 1970s as a response to the Soviet Union's human rights abuses. Led by figures such as Václav Havel and Jan Patočka, the movement called for the Czechoslovak government to respect human rights and democratic freedoms. Although the movement was subject to intense repression, it played a significant role in keeping the flame of dissent alive, paving the way for the eventual collapse of communism in 1989. As we reflect on the legacy of the Prague Spring, we are reminded that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a better future. The courage and resilience of the Czechoslovak people during this period serve as an inspiration to us all, demonstrating that even in the face of overwhelming oppression, the human spirit can never be fully extinguished. And so, dear listeners, as we conclude our journey through the Prague Spring, we are left with a profound appreciation for the power of human creativity, courage, and resilience. We are reminded that the struggle for freedom and democracy is never truly won, but must be constantly defended and renewed. Join me next time as we explore more fascinating stories from history and discover the triumphs and tribulations of people who dared to dream of a better tomorrow. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.